Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Sunday, July the 9th. It's race number 8 at Pleasanton, the $150,000 Pleasanton Mile, to be contested at 1 mile and 70 yards. Let's take a look at this field. Please scan or click the QR code for Race of the Day access on mobile, which includes free Formulator Pass performances. This is a strong race. The number 1 Tripoli is a Grade 1 stakes winner. He took the Pacific Classic back in 2021. The number 7 CZ Rocket, all he's done is earn over $2 million and place in 2 editions of the Breeders' Cup Sprint. It's a strong field. I wonder what the number 2 Midnight Mammoth is going to do, because he does have some early speed and his form might be a little bit dirtied up. He was 3rd against graded stakes competition 3 starts back. CZ Rocket can be a bit slow from the gate, but if he breaks well, he should be on the pace as well. All in all, I think the pace is going to be fair, and I think that would suit the number 1 Tripoli just fine. I mentioned that he won the Pacific Classic in 2021, of course on dirt, and he competed in the Breeders' Cup Classic that year. Last year wasn't very good for Tripoli, and I think there were a lot of folks that were wondering if maybe he had seen his best days behind him, but he did win 2 starts back at Golden Gate Fields on the Tapeta surface, and then finished a decent 3rd last time out in the All-American Stakes, a race that didn't have a ton of pace. While Tripoli was close to the pace, he was behind the eventual winner, and maybe he was somewhat pace compromised. I still think there might be something left in Tripoli, and he drew a good inside post position. He should be able to save ground going into the first turn, and I think he'll work out a decent trip. He might have to improve just a little bit off his most recent start, but we know he has plenty of back races that make him super competitive with this field. Let's watch Midnight Mammoth's most recent race. He was 3rd in a high-level allowance at Santa Anita, going a 2-turn mile. He showed good speed in this race, and as the leaders tried to sprint away during the 3rd quarter, I think it just took the starch out of Midnight Mammoth just a little bit. 3 starts back, going 1 mile and an 1/8, he ran his career best race. A 3rd to Defunded, arguably the best handicap horse in Southern California right now. His speed makes him very interesting in here, because I think he's just going to go right to the front and try to back down the fractions. If he runs back to that race 3 starts back, he's somewhat interesting, and he's going to be a price. The number 3 Katona is a new face to the stakes ranks, but he's coming into it in very good form. Let's watch his most recent start. I know it's only a 1st level allowance at Santa Anita, but the pace wasn't quick at all, and Katona had to rally from out of it to win. He earned a 96 Beyer speed figure, far and away the best number of his career, and at first glance you might want to question that number, but then realize that the 3rd place finisher came back and he won a 1st level allowance with a 98 Beyer speed figure. So Katona's number looks legit, and he looks legit as well. He's going to be making a strong run from the back of the pack, and he's a relatively lightly raced 4-year-old with some upside. The number 4 is I'm Gonna Be Somebody, just a consistent horse. He's been on the board in his last 7 races. He seems to fire whether it's dirt, turf, or synthetic, and here's his win over a couple of these last time out in the All-American, and he got a great trip and ride in his first race off a 5-month layoff. He just sat right off of that slow pace, took the lead in the stretch, and then once he makes the lead, he's tough to catch. This is a horse who's 2 for 2 lifetime at Pleasanton, and he just has the tactical ability to work out any kind of a trip. I think another good one is coming for I'm Gonna Be Somebody, a horse who, you know what you're going to get with him. It's usually a Beyer speed figure in the low to mid 90s. The number 5 is Kennebec, and this is a horse who's been campaigning mostly on turf throughout his career. He has won on dirt, but not against this level of competition. He scored last time out on the turf at Golden Gate in a 2nd level allowance race. I thought he got a pretty good trip that day, and I believe he's going to have to do a lot better, stepping up in class and switching surfaces. The 6 in here is Il Bellator, and this is a horse who might be more of a synthetic specialist than anything else. He's only raced once previously on dirt. I think he had an excuse for that race, the Shared Belief last summer at Del Mar. That race was contested over a very speed-favoring track. Il Bellator tried to rally from out of it against a good field. The 3rd place finisher Newgrange came back to win a graded stake with a 96 Beyer. Il Bellator might be rounding back into his best form. This is going to be his 3rd start of 2023. He was a close 3rd in the San Francisco Mile off of the layoff, and then wasn't embarrassed at all when 4th at huge odds in the Grade 1 Shoemaker Mile on turf. Whether he's as good on dirt as he is on turf, that's the big question for Il Bellator. 5-1 on the morning line. It seems just a little bit light for me to take against this strong field. CZ Rocket is the number 7. His past performances speak for themselves. He's earned over $2 million. He's placed in 2 editions of the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and it appears he can still step at the ripe old age of 9. Here's his most recent race, the Grade 1 Triple Bend, against one of the country's best sprinters in Spirit of Makina. He ends up running a good second that day, going 7/8 of a mile. As I mentioned earlier, he isn't really the best gait horse, but I think in a race going this long, even if he breaks a half step slow, he can be hustled into it and be relatively close. He's run well at middle distances in the past, including a placing in the Steve Sexton Mile back in 2021, I believe it was. I just think he's better as a late-running sprinter, and I'm not sure I want to take a short price on him, stretching out around 2 turns. The number 8 in here is American Farmer. We saw him run second in the All-American. Of course, that race was on synthetic, and he still has to prove his worth on dirt, but I thought he did some very good things in the All-American because he was shuffled out of it early, and not only did that traffic issue cost him, but the fact that he was then shuffled behind a slow pace that the winner took advantage of, I think shows that American Farmer ran very well considering he got up for second. I think he's coming back into good form for a very good trainer in Steve Sherman. I think he's a horse at 10-1 in the morning line you might want to consider at a price. Breakfast Ride is the number 9, and this is a horse who is coming off a little bit of a layoff. We haven't seen him since late January when he was in against the aforementioned Newgrange in the San Pasquale. He's kept some pretty good company in his last 2 races, and before that he was steadily moving through his conditions and going the right way for John Sadler. He has tactical speed as well and can likely sit just off the pace. Tesoro, the 10, completes the field. He was entered for a tag last time out on the turf at Golden Gate Fields, and he scored. He couldn't hack it in the San Francisco Mile 2 starts back, but it was his first race off a long layoff, and he was very eager. He's another horse that has to prove that dirt is truly his game. We take a look at my top pick for the Sunday race of the day, and I like the consistent I'm going to be somebody. I think he can work out a good trip, and to me it doesn't matter whether it's dirt, turf, or synthetic. He's just very, very consistent. He'll be my top selection in the Sunday race of the day at Pleasanton. Good luck.